If you've been building your business solo and secretly wondering if you're doing it all wrong, then I want to invite you into something that might just change the game. It's called the Freedom Business Circle, a newly developed group coaching that I run with my business and life partner, Butter Lakshiri, who's also a transformational realignment coach with nearly 2 decades of experience. This coaching group is not another course or mastermind. It's a high-impact coaching space for creators, coaches, and online business builders who are ready to grow their income and their freedom at the same time. Inside, we focus on aligned growth. No hacks, no burnout. We want to make sure that you're growing your business in a way that feels in alignment with your purpose. We do so with 2 powerful coaching calls a month, once a week, asynchronous coaching inside our 24/7 available Slack community where Botter and I jump in every single week for an entire day to answer your questions, and you will gain access to curated Slack community that actually gives a damn. See, whether you're hovering around your first few clients, have spent the last 6 months perfecting your offer or content strategy without putting anything out there, or are finally ready to hit 2 to 5K months consistently, this space gives you structure, feedback, and the community to make it happen without selling your soul or having to duct tape your business together from freebies. Because here's the thing. The Freedom Business Circle lives right in between the $20,000 a year mastermind and a free Facebook group that you've already muted. The circle is open now, and for only $97 a month for the first 10 members and $147 a month after, you can plug in immediately. I mean today. And you can cancel at any time. So head to the link in the show notes to learn more and claim your seat inside the Freedom Business Circle today. All right, let's get into the episode. Welcome to the Your Business Untethered podcast, a space for freedom seekers ready to build and scale a business that supports their wildest dreams, even while traveling the world. Hi, I'm Dina, creator of Way of the Founder and your host. I imagine this podcast as a space where aspiring and established freedom entrepreneurs come to forge a path towards purpose, financial freedom, meaningful impact, and location independence. I'll be your guide as we defy the norm, heal old conditioning, and step into the leaders we were born to be. I myself am a firstborn, a daughter of divorcee, sister, girlfriend, professional coach, nomad, and expat of a decade plus, as well as yoga aficionado and energy healer. In my previous career, however, I worked a 9-to-5 as a professional fundraiser for American orchestras. Can you believe it? However, I needed more. I needed more freedom in my life. So 5 years ago, I called quits on resume success and claimed back the reins over my own life. What started with a one-way ticket to Vietnam and a single backpack filled to the brim has since grown into Way of the Founder, where I've helped hundreds of clients defy and heal from the path they were told to follow, redefine freedom, fulfillment, and success on their own terms, and build impact-driven businesses that let them live and work from anywhere. Join me each week for deep dives into leadership, strategy, and mindset, as well as healing that fuel the untethered CEO. That's you. Whether you're building your dream with a coconut flight ticket, wine glass, or coffee in hand, you are in the right place. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to another episode here at Your Business Untethered. Listen, today I am so going to be just so passionate about talking to you guys about all of the lessons that I wish someone had just presented to me so that I could have just taken them off that silver platter. About, 3-4 years ago when I started traveling nomadically with my business, so to speak, in my suitcase, I found that more and more lately in the last couple of years, a lot of people, a lot of business coaches out there are really selling their lifestyle, right? They're selling their lifestyle and they go, look at me, look how beautiful it is. I get to work from Bali. I get to work from Vietnam. I get to work from the Azores, wherever it may be. And it's this gorgeous lifestyle that I get to live all because I've launched a business. Now listen, I too get to live a gorgeous lifestyle all because I launched a business. Many of my clients get to live this gorgeous lifestyle all because they built a business. But with every medal, there comes another side, right? There's the good, and then there's the parts that a lot of people don't talk about. And if you're someone who's just beginning to travel and either you're still living off of savings and or you have already accomplished the huge task of building up a steady revenue stream through your business that supports you while traveling, then this episode is really for you, because what I want to talk about is why I began to travel in the first place. Because it's not just for the sake of traveling. There was a very intentional reason behind it for me that, again, I don't think a lot of people admit to or even are talking about. But then more to the point, I want to share a few lessons with you that I've learned on the road. I started traveling nomadically 2022. It's 2025 now. So I've been traveling for more than 3 years at this point. And prior to that, I'd already been an expat to my home country, Germany, for almost 7 years. So I've been on and off on the road for a decade at this point, and I've definitely learned some lessons that I wish someone had told me when I started this whole journey, both as an expat and specifically as a nomad entrepreneur. So let's dive right in. First things first, why did I even begin to travel nomadically? And now there's different ways to be a nomad, right? You can be a nomad and have a base. You can have a permanent residency and still be traveling so often that while you travel, you do consider yourself a nomad because you bounce from place to place. You have your own business, or you have perhaps your remote job, depending on, which mindset you've fallen into, and you work from anywhere in the world most of the time. You may be someone like me who doesn't exactly have a permanent home at the moment, though I'll put a huge caveat on that because I've actually just decided to spend the next couple of years here in Vietnam, and there'll be a future episode in which I talk to you all about why and how I made that decision and how it affects my business and my mental health. But, to the point for today, there are many different kinds of nomads, right? There are the nomads who say, yeah, I'm going to do this for a year and then I go and move to that country. And there are the nomads whose camp I fall into, who are like, I'm going to travel and I'm going to be a nomad. And I don't know exactly how long I'm going to need to be a nomad for and where I'm going to be nomading. I'm just going to sort of let life pave the path for me and I'll follow life. So I'm curious right off the bat, if you're listening to this, X out of your Spotify or wherever you're listening, keep listening and send me a message on Instagram, Dina Seeks Freedom, and let me know where you're listening from. And let me know, what kind of nomad are you? What kind of a traveler are you? So for me, I'm this or I used to be anyway, this full-time digital nomad. I would travel every couple of months to a new city at least, but typically to a new country. I've stayed mostly within Asia, specifically Southeast Asia, though I've traveled beyond. I've spent a whole bunch of time in Spain and in Albania. So I guess Europe and Asia are really the continents where I've spent the last 3 months. And it's been a full-time, I almost want to say, job for me. And the reason why I started travel was, sure, because I wanted to see the world. But the more honest reason why I began to travel as a nomad was because I'd been an expat in the United States for about 5 years. And that time very suddenly and somewhat unexpectedly came to an end when I just realized this is no longer the country for me. This country no longer makes me happy. This country no longer makes me feel safe. So I left, and not knowing where else to go, I just moved back to Germany, where I'm from, where I held citizenship and still do. And so I was in Germany, and a year or so into living in Germany, I realized, okay, great. Germany is also most definitely not the country where I'm going to spend the rest of my life. It no longer feels like home. But now I was in between two countries, neither of which I really enjoyed living, both of which were sort of out of the question for me to live in long-term, even short-term.
And so I decided to start traveling primarily because I wanted to search for a home. America no longer felt like a home. Germany no longer felt like a home. And I was aware of certain privileges that I had, my passport privilege, my economic privilege, the privilege of owning my own business and generating income online, that I decided to take my life on the road in search for a home. I was, and perhaps I still am, searching for a country that I'd like to call my elected home. This is why I began to travel. Now, of course, I've always loved travel. Of course, I've always loved exploring and immersing myself in different cultures. So that's just a huge added bonus, and certainly something that, is in no small part the reason why I still enjoy traveling so much. But the honest to God intentionality for me behind beginning to travel was always, hey, I want to find a home. I want to find a home. And a lot of the lessons that I've learned along the way of the digital nomad path for me, actually now in looking back on the last 3 years, really come back to that sense of, I want to find a home. And then, of course, the other reason I'm traveling is because I can, right? It's because I can, because I've sort of stopped believing in that scam that you have to work 9 to 5 and, you have to be in your country and yada, yada, yada. But also because I can, thanks to, again, the privileges that I was born into. So let's look at some of the lessons that I've learned. First things first, you cannot run away or travel away from your problems. I have tried it. Believe me, take my word for it. It doesn't work. When I was an expat in the United States, I tried really hard to disregard everything that I was running away from in Germany. Childhood, wounds and trauma and, the things that we grow up with. At some point, we're going to have to heal that. And I tried really hard to just create as much physical distance between the source of the problem and myself, hoping that the further the distance would get, the further away I would get, that the less of a problem the actual wounds and the actual trauma and the actual patterns that ensued from that childhood trauma would be a problem. And of course, that worked exactly not at all. And then later, when I was a nomad, at that point, when I started to be a nomad in 2022, I'd done so much personal development work. I had been working with coaches at that point. I had gone through coach training. I'd been coaching. I had gone through therapy. So I was a lot more self-aware of why I was making certain decisions. And still, if you've been listening to the show, you know that 2022 also was the year when my mom and I actually did not talk at all. From May 2022 until April 2023, we had very little contact. And that, of course, like that whole journey of learning to relate differently to my mom, of learning to mother myself, of learning to nurture myself, to bring a motherly and an unconditional kind of love to myself. That was a whole journey. That was trauma. That was a wound that wanted to be healed. That was conversations I needed to be having with myself. If I had gone on that nomad journey in that year and been like, all right, well, I'm out of here. I'm just not going to think about it. I'm going to, go off and fuck off to Bali and travel the world and nothing can face me. It would have been another chapter of my life where I'd been running away from my problems. But I knew better because I'd spent the previous 5 or 6 years trying to run away from my problems. And here I was in 2022, having more tools, having more awareness of what trouble I could be getting myself into if I tried to use travel to ignore any wounds that wanted to be healed. So instead, I used travel, specifically my time in Bali, spend on and off about 6 months in Bali between 2022 and 2023. And those first months, I really spent them just in mostly, by myself. I didn't use travel like a lot of people do to sort of distract myself. Really use travel as an opportunity and as a vessel for me to get to know myself better and to get to know myself within this whole realm of, okay, great. So life's asking me to look at and to heal my mother wound. What does that look like? And I utilize travel. I utilized the Hindu culture. I utilized the sense of forgiveness that I felt was so, so present on the island of Bali. I utilized travel because I knew, and this is such a huge lesson I want to share with you as well, is that no matter how far away from your problems you travel, they will always find a way into your suitcase. You will take your baggage with you, literally and figuratively. Your problems will follow you. So don't use travel to run away. Use travel to get to know yourself on a deeper level. Use travel as a facilitator to heal, to solve whatever may be going on for you. The second lesson I wish someone had told me in 2022 is that you're always going to want to feel a sense of home. I don't think I'm the only one who started their nomad journey as this, like, all right, I'm a nomad now, therefore I'm going to be super minimalistic and I don't need anything. I can sleep anywhere, I can work anywhere. All I need is a Wi-Fi connection. And then you quote unquote settle into this nomad lifestyle where you're never settled, and suddenly you begin to have back pain because you are working off a really shitty chair at your Airbnb, because every couple of months you switch the mattress that you sleep in and you switch the pillows that you sleep on. And suddenly you look around and you go, well, I'm not eating the food that I'm used to at home. I'm not seeing the pictures that used to hang on my wall. There is nothing in this Airbnb that would indicate that I, Dina Marie, actually live here. And suddenly you look around and you're like, I feel a little unsettled. And even though that's the whole point of being a nomad, is to not be settled, there is a deeper sense of feeling settled that I do think we forget about and try to ignore as nomads, that is actually quite easy to recreate as a nomad. So what do I mean by that? First of all, longing for a sense of home while you're on the road is okay. If you're someone who is like, this feels really ambivalent because on the one hand, I want to keep traveling, I'm not ready to settle, and I'm not ready to sign a long-term lease again. But on the other hand, I really wish that this place where I'm at right now would feel like a home. I just want to say, I fucking see you. That's me. That's been me from almost the very beginning on. You know, a mattress is something you can't really put inside a suitcase. But a pillow, you can buy a pillow and put it in your suitcase. Pictures, sure, you have your phone, but it doesn't cost you too much weight in your suitcase to print off a few pictures and to just always have them on your walls no matter where you are. I travel with all the equipment I need to create a temporary standing desk, and I most definitely have a little laptop stand with me so that, quite honestly, I can just take care of my body while I'm traveling. This provides me with a sense of home, because guess what is going to be the first thing that I buy when and if I settle properly? Again, it's going to be a standing desk, right? So in the meantime, okay, economically, it makes no sense for me to keep buying standing desks and then leaving them behind or donating them to the next person. But I can create a version of that. I have, if you're watching this on YouTube, though, I don't know if I'm going to upload this to YouTube, but I like to do the like paint by color, paint by numbers, DIY paintings. And I have one of those hanging right behind me in my background. And that gives me a sense of, okay, great, I'm still following my hobbies. I'm keeping my hobbies and my sense of home consistent even while I'm traveling. There's always the same kinds of photos of my best friends and letters from my boyfriend that sit on my nightstand, no matter where I am. What's on the nightstand is always whatever gives me a sense of home. So I think it's really important for you to look at, not just look at, okay, well, does this Airbnb have a desk, and does this Airbnb have good Wi-Fi, and is it close to the beach? Sure, these things are important, but then also ask yourself, what is it that I need that would make me feel really homey? Like for me, that means having a really nice kitchen. That makes me feel homey. For me, that means making room in my suitcase for my pillow. That makes me feel homey. I travel with like 2 versions of the same lipstick in case I run out, because the lipstick I like, I can only find it back home in Germany. And Sadly, my mom just told me that they have discontinued that line of lipsticks, which is a whole different story. But, it's point is, it's these small things. What else do you need? Do you need a really comfortable couch with a bunch of throw pillows that you can chill on and do your reading on? Is that something that makes you feel homey? Now, the invitation is, as you travel through this gorgeous world, is to, even if that means having to make a little more room into your budget, is to make these things that aren't necessary but make you feel at home, make them a priority. Make them a priority in where you travel to, in which Airbnbs or short-term rentals you pick out, and in what you might even be negotiating for. Like, by the way, you can always ask your host to put in a desk, and you can always be specific about the desk you want to be put into your short-term rental. So I've really started to look for places, not just where I can crash, not just a place for like, that'll do the job, that's a room with a desk, that'll do the job. I've started to really look for homes, right? So recently, a couple of years ago, my partner and I found this absolutely amazing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-room apartment in the Gran Canary Islands, and it just felt so at home. And we booked it. We booked it for 3 months. We built a relationship with the host, who welcomed us with cookies and biscuits and a bottle of red wine. And we felt at home. We felt welcomed. We felt like this was more than just a transaction of money being exchanged for a place to, again, crash. It felt like a home. It was being made up for us as though it was a home for the family itself. We went back to that place, because the Gran Canary Islands are just absolutely amazing. If you haven't been there, go. Specifically, we just appreciated the sense of home that we were being greeted with, that was being facilitated for us. So we went back there. Now in Vietnam, we have a bit of a more like mid-term to long-term rental situation. And we were looking very much for a place where we can cook. So that was a huge priority for us. Can we find a place that has more than 2 stovetops? Can we find a place where you have a huge countertop, where you have a beautiful dining table? These things aren't necessary. They're not minimalistic, but they're so important to just making me feel at home. So again, on the second lesson, look for a place that feels like home, even if it's just temporary. Make space for that in your suitcase, in your budget. Third, the digital nomad road can get so lonely. It can get lonely because you keep having to have the same introductory conversation, then you move away, and then people travel on, and now you have to start over again. It can get lonely because there is no mandatory way of meeting anyone. If you're not careful, you will be alone a lot. And that may be nice for certain seasons of life, right? When I lived in Bali, the first few months, I wanted to be alone. But then over time, we are a creature that seeks out, that naturally needs to be in community. So you have to be extremely intentional about building community into your life. Now, I say this as someone who met her partner on the road, and we've been traveling together for 2.5 years. It'll be 3 years in October. So while I'd been expatting for 5+ years by myself, actually as a nomad, I only ever traveled for about a half a year by myself. And then I met Badr, my partner, and we've been traveling together ever since. So you may think like, oh, well, Dina, you always have someone. You can never get lonely on the road. But even as a couple, you need to make sure that you don't just sort of look to each other for company. You still need the community around you. So whether you're single or in a partnership and traveling as a nomad, really doesn't matter. What's important is, can you find connection? And then can you not only find the fleeting connection, because as a nomad, you'll always bump into people, run into people, meet people who have just gone on to the country that you just came from. Like, you can have these fleeting conversations all day, every day. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is actual connection, where you can sit down and say, hey, friend whom I just met in Thailand, I have this problem with my business. I just need a sounding board. I have this thing happening in my relationship I just want to talk about. You don't talk to fleeting connections about these types of things, but you have to talk about these things. So it's on us as nomads to look around and truly build these deeper connections. And maybe that even looks like traveling to where your friends are. Maybe that looks like really intentionally building a friendship with a new person. And then, of course, sustaining that friendship online should you move on to different countries. Now, this is part of the reason why I really enjoy living in Da Nang. In Da Nang, you have a great deal of opportunities to meet new people, but it also has become a place where people just sort of hang out for more than just a couple of months. So it's actually giving me the opportunity to build long-term friendships with people here in person, because after a while, it gets really tiring to only have these deep conversations with your best friend who lives on the literal other side of the world online. You need to have the touch, you need to have the actual, while we're sitting down face to face, eye to eye, we're having a drink, there's only a table between you and I, and it's not a whole continent and a whole body of water. This shit is so important. I frankly completely underestimated it in the beginning because I was like, I've been living internationally for so many years. I've been maintaining friendships online for so many years. This will be so easy. And it was so hard. It was so hard, and actually became a little harder when I started dating my partner, because we were like, oh, well, now we're no longer alone. And then that creates a whole other set of problems. So the road of being a nomad, the nomadic road, can be lonely. Be aware of that, and then be intentional about it. See, out of this quote unquote problem or this lesson, actually have grown a bunch of things that I do in my business, which is really exciting. Here in Da Nang, what I do is I facilitate a weekly freedom coaching circle. It's free, and we keep it to 10 people at a time. It happens every Saturday. I'm being very intentional about who gets to come, who doesn't get to come, because I really want to create the sense of connection, the sense of, hey, this is a space where we can be safe enough to almost skip over the surface level conversations and dive deeper into really deep mindset and strategy conversation that can yield results and insights that will carry you for the next 6 to 12 months. So I love facilitating that circle. And then off the heels of that circle has actually come a paid online community, the Freedom Business Incubator, which is geared towards new entrepreneurs who have, it doesn't have to be nomads or expats, but right now it's exclusively nomads and expats. But inside the incubator, we help you, Badr and I help you build a business that helps you get to stable 5 figures a year, so stable 4-figure months, and sets you up to then, should you want to build the business up to 6 figures and beyond. Now, this is something I can teach 101. I'm teaching it 101. This is something that I can teach in a course. I'm teaching it in a course, 9 to 5 to Freedom Business. But you know what I crave? And you know what everyone craves that I work with? Community, sense of you get it. I get it. I see you. I hear you. And try and find a business coaching community that isn't hyper, which I'm not hyper. I'm a social creature, but I'm not this hyper like, oh my gosh, I just saw you in Thailand. That's not my vibe. And that's not a lot of people's vibes. But you either get the business coach who's like over here and it's like, oh, your lifestyle is so cool. Now let me teach you how to do business as though you never travel. Or you get the business coach over here who's super hyper, who also travels, who's also a nomad. And now it's like, well, but I need something in between. I need something that grounds me. I need a community that grounds me. I need a coach that grounds me. And so for me, I've just really craved the sense of continuity in a community that gets it. So I couldn't find that community. So I built one. I built it with my partners. So there is a sense of community, and I built it for nomads, location independent entrepreneurs, for expats, for people who are looking for that community that helps them actually make money in a way that helps them, light their soul on fire and not sucks their soul out in the process of building a business, but also for people who are just looking for community. So this is actually a really important business lesson. The problems that you see for yourself in the industry that you're in oftentimes constitute the best business opportunities for your own business. If there is something that you're looking for and you can't find it, go ahead and build it. So this has been really such a huge growth curve for me, is to look at how can I, because I'm also not someone who enjoys small talk. I'm not someone who can be bothered with surface level conversations. I'm someone who sort of is looking for the person who's willing to dive deep quickly. And I've needed to just be really intentional about what are the spaces I put myself into? How do I show up inside these spaces? And then what are the spaces that I want that I can't find that I can just go ahead and create myself? So, fourth lesson, and I've sort of touched on this already, is you have to find yourself mentors who get it. When I started traveling, my coach at the time was like, oh, that's so exciting. Let's go ahead and get you some more one-on-one clients. And like my lifestyle suddenly was just something that my coach could not really comprehend or wasn't really willing to comprehend and wasn't able to, because that coach was like, well, I'm over here, I'm never going to travel like you, I'm way too introverted for that. And suddenly there was just such a huge disconnect between what I was going through, not just as an entrepreneur, but as a whole human who had a business, and what she was able to empathize with. And then I went looking for other coaches, and one person that I got into conversation with, she looked at me and she was like, you live such a cool life. And it's like, yeah, I live such a cool life. It comes with its own sets of problems and issues and questions. And I just didn't feel for a really long time like I was easily able to find someone who understood business, who understood strategy, who understood coaching, and who understood my lifestyle. And call me crazy, but I wanted someone who understood all of these things. The coach I'm working with now, she is an expat herself. She travels a lot herself. She enjoys having a lot of white space in her calendar like me. Now, I'm not looking for someone whose business I can replicate. I'm looking for someone who will understand me so much and so deeply and so empathetically that they can support me in building the business that I need to build, that I want to build, that only I can build. And this is how I relate to my clients, vice versa as well. But I'm not looking for you to replicate my business. Like if my business model happens to also work for you, great. But most of my clients' business structure looks entirely different from mine because they have different lives, they have different needs, they have different desires. But as you are either becoming or just staying a nomad, I would strongly encourage you to go and look for spaces that you can plug into. And I truly mean pay to plug into. Look for coaching spaces, look for masterminds, look for mentorship from people from a community who get it. Now, I've started to build these paid spaces myself, as I've just mentioned. So you're obviously welcome to check out the incubator or to come and ask me if you're a little further along in business about other communities that I have on the back end that I don't really talk about. But it doesn't have to be exclusive to nomads. It's just like, are there people in there? Does the coach, does the facilitator have a neck for travel, have a neck for living in other places? Right? I find myself drawn to people who have been expats, who have lived abroad, and who now teach business and who now are life coaches. I find myself drawn to that and allow myself to be drawn to that because they get it. And like, I don't have time to sit here and explain to you why and how this lifestyle is different or works and how and why I need the business to look a little different given the lifestyle that I have. I need someone who just gets it, because running a business on the road is different. Running a business as a nomad feels different. The business may look the same way it would have looked for you had you not started to travel, but how you relate to the business is different. One of the number one things that I hear from established business owners who, like me, began to travel while they already had built a business, one of the number things is, oh shit, I had to change the structure of my offers because I no longer have as much time to dedicate to my clients, or at the very least, I no longer have enough overlapping waking hours. So I need to change how I serve my clients. This is not just about income. This is not just about your own sleeping hours. And believe me, they're important. This is about service to your client. So find a mentor who gets it. And finally, and this really is, it's not just, well, this whole episode really is focused on being a successful nomad as an entrepreneur, right? And when we look at being a successful nomad as an entrepreneur, we look at, is the business successful? But we also look at, are you happy? And there's not a balance that we need to achieve between success in business and happiness as a person, but there's a balance that we need to achieve in adventure versus growth. Most people who become nomads haven't achieved their biggest, most phenomenal, most outrageous, magical goals in life yet. They're building. You are building. Again, I'd love to hear from you. I love hearing from my listeners. Drop me a DM on Instagram. What is it that you're building right now? What are you building towards? And now, while maybe, and this is not a statistic, this is just, my own very subjective perception based on who I meet, maybe 80% of digital nomads are still building. They're still building financial stability. They're still building their business. They're growing their business. They're growing themselves. The other 20%, they're like, I travel. I don't know for how long, but I'm set up. I have this income or I have those investments. I'm just over here and I'm just exploring. That is fantastic. Most of us are building while we travel. And so this is the fourth lesson. Your business, or the thing that you're building, the thing that you're growing, has to come first. It has to come before travel. It has to come before adventure. This is not to say you can't travel. Of course you travel. This is not to say you can't have adventure. Of course, a huge part of the reason why you quit your 9-to-5 in the first place while you're building a business that you want to build in a way so that it supports your lifestyle is that so that you can have adventure. But at the end of the day, if you're someone who finds, if you're really being honest with yourself, if you're someone who finds that more often than not, you're saying, I'll do this thing in my business after I've come back from this trip, then my dear, something needs to change, because you're putting the growth of your business and with that, the stability of your lifestyle on hold. Why would you do that? Again, I'm all for having an afternoon spent at the beach. I'm all for taking Friday off to go on a beautiful trip. I'm about to take another half a week off in October because we're going on an extended visa run. You better believe I don't work during that time. But you also better believe that I'm going to work through the weekend the week prior. Not because I have to, but because I'm choosing to not put my business goals, and with that, the stability of my lifestyle, the expansion of my lifestyle, on hold. I'm choosing to make that a priority. And only if you make your business growth a priority while you travel, only if you build your travel plans around your business, around your launch, around your goals, will your business actually grow. If you're someone who is like, well, I'll do the launch once I'm settled over there, I need you to flip that and go, you know what? Now's the best time in my business to launch based on engagement, based on my waiting list, based on X, Y, and Z. I'm going to stay here for the next month and take care of this launch, and then I'll travel. That's the type of mindset I need you to get into, because listen, if your business fails, most likely your lifestyle is going to fail. This is what's at stake. So you can't keep prioritizing your lifestyle and then go, oh, shit, my business didn't work out. No, you have to double down on your business right now. So what does that look like? Well, frankly, for me, over time, and I'm going to be really honest, this is something that I learned in hindsight. This is not something someone told me in 2022. I was actually making really good money, but I was also slacking off in business here and there. And it came back to hurt me. I shot myself in the foot by not fully arranging my travel plans, my adventure plans around my business goals and growth. So I'm saying this not as someone who's always been perfect at this, but as someone who's learned over time, right? So your goals have to come first. Your business goals have to come first. The actions that you take in order to achieve your business goals have to come first, not second to travel. They have to come first. So again, this looks like building travel plans around your launches. This looks like perhaps slowing down your travel plans and staying in the same country for more than just a couple of months so that you can really double down, put your head down and focus on your business. This may also look like saying no to a couple of trips that you're being invited to because your business takes priority. Again, if your business fails, more likely than not, your lifestyle will fail. And this is drastic and factually not entirely true, because of course you can always get a remote job, etc. But if you're listening to this podcast, you're someone who likely would prefer to build a business and to grow a business, to have the freedom that only entrepreneurship brings you. So why put your business on the back burner? Your business has to come first. So this is all I got. I'll probably come back and do a second iteration of this, part 2, so to say, of all of the lessons I'm learning on the road, because I always learn new lessons. But these are the lessons that have really sort of just stuck around for the last few months. And I wanted to be sure to bring this onto the show and to share it with you, because again, like I said in the beginning of the episode today, I wish someone had just given me this episode 3 years ago. Now, whether or not I would have listened to myself 3 years ago, I don't know. We all have to go and make our own mistakes and fall flat on our face and get back up and learn from our own experience. But hopefully these lessons can offer you a bit of a leg up, can offer you some perspective, give you some permission to go beyond or outside what the general online nomad community prescribes the nomad life or lifestyle to look like and to be. And yeah, again, I'd love to hear from you which of these lessons resonated the most with you. We'll have another guest on the podcast next week. And soon enough, I'll upload another solo episode for you guys about why and how I decided to actually stick around one country for a little longer. And while this is still not the home I'm looking for, but it's a really, really gorgeous intermediate step that I'm taking that, I guess has elevated my journey or has allowed me to graduate from nomad to expat. But more on that in a couple of weeks' time from now. I love you so very much. Please go out into the world and create more freedom today than you did yesterday, and I'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the podcast, Your Business Untethered, hosted by me, Dinat, creator of Way of the Founder. I love hearing from you, so please drop me a DM on Instagram sharing your insights from this episode. And if you are ready to take the leap, my free guides, Plot Your 9-to-5 Escape in 7 days, and the Freedom Business Scorecard are in the show notes for you to grab. If this episode created change for you, please leave a review and be a friend and share this with a friend or a colleague that you love. Until next time, please wake every day, seize the day, defy the norm, and create your very own type of freedom. I love you. I do mean it.